back to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Joe Royland. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about the new album from Hirsh Gardner, My Brain Needs a Holiday. Now, that is a sentiment I could well agree with. Still working like a dog, still suffering through this chest congestion cold thing, so hopefully I'll try not to cough out of the lung while I get this episode done. Hirsh, if you don't know, you may remember his name from a couple episodes back when we were talking about the short-lived supergroup Warrior and the band that never quite got to be. But Hirsh is the thundering drummer in the band New England out of Boston, Massachusetts, one of my all-time favorite bands. And aside from that, is also a great singer, multi-instrumentalist, and award-winning record producer in his own right. He did lead vocals on one of my all-time favorite New England songs, which is a track, She's Gonna Tear You Apart, off their third album, Walking Wild, and also co-lead vocals on the song Nothing to Fear on the band's debut album. And occasionally, Hirsh likes to step out in the spotlight himself. This is his second solo album, following 2003's Wasteland for Broken Hearts, available on GB Music, who also happens to put out all of New England's reissued albums, and the current live one. The album features a lot of guest artist contributions, some from his New England bandmate Jimmy Waldo, but more in the guitar department, which we will get to as we hit upon them individually in this following review. The album kicks off to a great start with Hirsh's drum intro on the driving rocker Lost in the Darkness, which is a track not too far removed from some of the stuff that New England would do, in that it's got great harmony vocals and some killer keyboard lines from Jimmy Waldo. But otherwise, this kind of twangy slide guitar solo courtesy of Joe Feloni, who plays out live with Hirsh Gardner. The record's title track follows, My Brain Needs a Holiday, which was co-written and again features Jimmy Waldo on keys. And like many of the songs here, kind of features a mix of more modern and classic sounds. Its tune swings in on the kind of groove you would expect to hear from contemporary English artist Muse. You would hear, it sounds like something you would hear off one of their most recent records, but also has this kind of Gary Glitter, Slade-style glam rock 70s vibe to it. It mixes the two together. It sounds really awesome. The next track, Get It Back, opens on a big screaming guitar solo courtesy of Bumblefoot Thal, himself a professed New England fan, and it alternates between that and funky NXS-style guitar work from Jodee Frawlee, and it's another good mover and groover that kind of mixes the old and the new sounds together. From there, we shift gears with Love Is, which starts off with these stunningly gorgeous stacked harmony vocals, which recall a few bands to me. A little bit of Utopia, which kind of makes sense because band worked with Todd Rundgren on their third album, and Hirsh's vocal range is kind of within the same limit as that band's Kasim Sultan, the bass player from that band, and one of the guys who did vocals in the band. And also a little bit of Dennis DeYoung from Styx, because Hirsh's vocal range is kind of in that department too, and of course Queen as well. And they worked with former Queen producer as well, and Mike Stone. Now, we could have stayed this perfectly awesome track just being the vocal lines and stuff, but gets brought up a further notch around the 2:10 mark when the song kicks in with this big Brian May style guitar solo courtesy of fellow Boston Jon Butcher, who's one of my favorite Boston guitar players. Used to be in Jon Butcher Axis. Great guitar player, and it's nice to see him on here. He's done some other guest spots with Hirsh Gardner before. Doomy Doomy brings back the rock and a cowboy-driven stomper, and an overdriven King-style crunchy guitar riff, and some nice whammy bar heavy soloing from Joe Feloni again, and also awesome bass work from Joe Midori. If You Need to Talk brings Jimmy Waldo back for another guest shot, as well as really nice lead guitar work from Richie Ranno of the band Stars, if you remember them, another awesome band from back in the 70s, who had some rather tasty six-string salting to a standout melodic rock song, one of my favorites on the album. Jimmy Waldo sticks around for the album's next track, adding piano and mellotron to the fine ballad Diamond Moon, which again is the type of song that Styx would have been highly envious of. But really nice stuff that shows off Hirsh's range as a singer and as a songwriter as well. Shadows, which is the last original track on the album, opens with a kind of cool, swirling electronic keyboard loop before kicking in with Hirsh's drumming again, and it's an anthemic mid-tempo rocker about kind of rising above the darkness with love. Great track. And then the album's final two tracks are both covers. The first is a more obscure song called Sister Jane, which was originally done by a French band called Typhon as a ballad. And while it's still mostly a ballad, Hirsh rocks it up rather nicely, again with some soaring neoclassical lead guitar work from Joe Feloni. And this is another really, really great track on the album. I'd never heard the original before, but this version of the song kicks ass. Great job, Hirsh. And then the last track on the album is a take on Procol Harum's Whiter Shade of Pale. And while it's a solid enough version of the song, it doesn't necessarily rise above the original, but still it's cool hearing Hirsch's spin on the song. And overall, really solid outing of melodic rock from Hirsh Gardner. And if you are a fan of melodic rock at all, if you're a fan of New England, just solid rock and roll period, you might want to do yourself a favor. Check out the new album from Hirsh Gardner, My Brain Needs a Holiday. It's out now. Hirsh is doing some limited tour dates around the album in support of it. Be sure to check out the links to Hirsch's website as well as his Facebook page that I'm going to include in the notes for the show, and also where you can pick up a copy of the album yourself. But great record from Hirsh Gardner, his new solo effort, My Brain Needs a Holiday. It's out now. And that's our show for this week. We will catch you next time on Sit and Spin. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for Hirsh for hooking me up with a copy of his new album. Great stuff, Hirsh. Love it. And we will talk to you next time.